Lizard Bandit Tokagero enters the picture to be the next person who goes after Amidamaru, and that was actually a great episode in my opinion. Welcome to Gamerturk's Onsen for a review of Shaman King Episode 4, Best Place, and as usual I am accompanied by Valga from SEO Wikia. Hey there Val, how are you doing?
Hello everyone, how are you?
I'm great, I hope people are great as well. How are you? That was my question.
Okay, I'm fine as well, thank you.
Okay, moving on. As I said at the very beginning, I feel like either I am getting used to the really fast pacing, or they are actually finding their spot properly, because I felt like this episode was quite good, really good in my opinion.
Yes, I agree with you. I actually think that it might be both cases. Like the first one, you said that we are probably getting used to the pace, but on the other hand, what I really noticed that they spent a whole one story on an episode, and that really worked for it. Like there wasn't packed to episode.
Oh yes,
two stories in the episode.
Yes, I wholeheartedly
they
agree.
Solely focus on one story.
Exactly, they just focused on Ryu and Tokagero. That really helped.
Exactly.
But even then, the first half especially, I found going by quite fast. But with their comedic approach to the entire thing, I felt like it was really clicking despite the speed.
Yes, I agree with you. I had the same feeling.
I mean, it was gonna be the comedic episode, of course, when you focus on Ryu and Tokagero. It has to be the comedic one. But I'm really glad with how it turned out to be.
Yes, actually, it was not only, well, you said it was comedic. There were, because of Ryu, there were some comedic parts. But for me, these were the first comedic parts that actually made me smile and laugh, because the previous ones weren't exactly, in previous episodes weren't exactly, clicking with me.
Exactly. Like previous episodes felt like they were hindered by the fast pacing, but here,
yes.
Again, as I said, either we're getting used to the pacing at this point, or they really did a good job with the comedic bits of this one.
Yes, as I said, in my opinion, it might be both. That, like I said, we might be getting used to the pace, but also due to the fact that they didn't try to pack as much as possible, just focus that they just focus on one story per one episode, and it really worked for it.
The early portions of the episode, do we actually have a lot to say? Like, I think our initial impressions of the episode covered these early portions with the comedic bits.
Yes, I believe so. So it's like we just would summarize its sense, but as you said, it was mainly as comedic parts, just to prepare us for the serious stuff that would happen in the second half.
I actually had something to say here, but I forgot what it is.
Actually, I have something to say about the first half.
Oh, go ahead.
So actually there was just one thing that, well, when it was mentioned, I was quite not sure and a little bit confused. It was about the best place, which Ryo and his gang were talking about. Because at that point when it was firstly mentioned, it felt a little bit out of place and maybe not enough focus, like it was in the previous episode with Manta being a great fan of Lee Pailong. But in the later half, it was actually focused once again and explained a little bit. So it worked.
I mean, it kind of stems from that first episode as well, in my opinion. Like that was supposed to establish Ryu to be in search of that best place, but since that first episode was so frantic in general, that didn't come up in the first place and had to be established here a little bit too late. But yeah, I totally get it. I really like Anna's school design. That was what I wanted to say earlier. That bit has been cut in this upload, but we were talking about it a bit earlier because I had something to say but forgot. I really like that bit with Ryu just chasing Anna being cold as fuck, and then going in. Yoh is I was gonna say Kirito for whatever reason. Yoh is my fiance, and Ryu just fucks off instantly, running away. I really like that.
Yes, of course. And since we are already on Anna, I just wanted to say that I really liked how she was portrayed in this episode, because in the previous one she was, well, mainly shown as someone who is, well, maybe not to the core emotionless and cold, but trying to be someone like that. And in this episode we actually saw more of her girl teenager stuff, or more like, human stuff. For example, when the first you mentioned, which was her more daily look, which is high school, not high school, I believe they are middle school uniform. And the later when, the whole drama with Tokagero and Yoh was happening, and actually Anna had a little of breaking moment.
Oh yeah. She had a really nice range throughout the episode, like her emotionless attitude, then her cold attitude, and then her breaking down. Like the original anime, due to the old art style, none of these usually came across properly because she was just vacant in general. In the old art style here, we kept saying it in the previous episodes all the time. I do feel like the art style benefited Anna the most. It really portrays her in every single way she needs to be portrayed incredibly well.
Yes, because it's thanks to this new art style, it emphasizes, really her strongest point, which is on one hand, this wannabe cold and emotional girl, but on the other hand, when she really shows her girly side, it also pays a lot.
Moving on to Tokagero, I believe you don't have anything else to say until we go back to the bowling arena?
No, actually, I believe we can move there.
Tokagero's voice, does it remind you of anyone, specifically a miniature clown guy?
Now that you say that, yes, it really reminds me of him.
Yeah, it took me a minute or two to realize, but his voice pattern as well as the speech pattern, it really reminds me of Chudelkin.
Yes. Now that you are saying this, it actually might be the case.
I feel like it's the lizard tone that they're giving him multiple times throughout the episode. When Tokagero was speaking without being on screen, I was like, who let Chudelkin into this series? Did you check who his seiyuu is?
Actually, I'm checking right now.
Yeah, please do. I can cut out the small silence that we have here.
However, well, to be honest with you, it didn't. I didn't notice it immediately like you, but maybe because I wasn't a great fan of Chudelkin's character from SAO.
Oh, I'm not a fan of Chudelkin's character, but goddamn, his voice actor is one of the best people in the entire series. He has done a fucking amazing job.
Okay, so first of all, the seiyuu for Tokagero is really a veteran one because he was born in 1966.
Ooh.
So yeah. So he is really, the elite of the elite when it comes to seiyuu.
That's quite impressive.
Yes, you are right.
Is he actually Chudelkin?
Right. Yes, exactly.
That makes so much
good
sense.
One for you. And for example, he also voiced Joker in Batman anime.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm really glad he's on the show then. I absolutely love this performance as Chudelkin, no matter how despisable the character himself was. So Tokagero being him, it is absolutely incredible.
Yes, perfect choice for the role, exactly.
But after Tokagero's introduction, we immediately go over to Yoh's house. And I think the rest is just a pretty typical shonen episode, I'd say. Nothing stands out all that much.
Yeah, I agree. There wasn't anything, I would say, important that would require hours to go into details.
I mean, important things are happening, but I meant to say it's like more on rails, what you would expect from a regular episode like this. I'm really glad we got Amidamaru and Mosuke flashbacks a little bit more, giving that more in depth.
Yes, actually, I also noticed that and wanted to mention it during our talk because again, the first episode left us with an impression of underwhelming about their relationship, and here we actually got a little bit more of their backstory. So yeah, it may give us more and show us more the importance of their relationship.
That episode 1 really left a lot to be desired back then.
Yes, exactly.
One thing to ask you, since both of us watched the 4Kids original version, when Ryu, or rather Tokagero, made Ryu knife the what was his name? Big punch guy?
Muscle punch?
Yes, muscle punch. Were you actually expecting him to get knifed?
No, actually, to be honest with you, I was quite surprised, and maybe not shocked, but surprised with the
exactly. Like I was taken aback for a single second, coming from the Fox Kids version. I think we mentioned this last week. No, the week prior with Taoren's episode. We mentioned this. We have this expectation of things going really mild, and then when that knife actually goes in and blood comes out, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yes, this was certainly something that I didn't expect to see at all.
The 4Kids curse on us old people. Jesus Christ, why am I old?
Well, you're not as old as me, so please don't complain.
Yes, right. The same thing with Tokagero mentioning, he survived by eating her mother's flesh and stuff. I was like,
Yes,
oh my god, am I still
yeah.
watching a teenager shonen show?
Yes, I was exactly the same. Like, what I didn't remember anything like that in the old animation, and here, like, it fell on me completely out of nowhere. So
Exactly.
it actually gave me even more impression than the knife scene.
Speaking of, moving on to the fight scenes, I was generally unimpressed with the animation, but I was thrilled with the still scenes, if that makes sense. Like, I'm really liking... There was barely any animation in the fight scene itself, that's what I mean to say. But the still scenes they kept using were all showing characters in such cool poses and stuff that I didn't mind lacking the animation.
Well, I wouldn't say that I got exactly the same impression as you. It just for me it was normal. Maybe that there was less fight scenes, as you said, but since there was more focus on there were some flashbacks and more focus on actually, I would say, emotional part that worked for me.
Oh yeah, the scenes were generally really focused on those emotional parts rather than any kind of action. That's definitely a given. One thing I want to add, which is the only little complaint that I have on this episode by making a comparison to the original. Do you remember, or I may be mistaken here, I didn't watch the original in the past couple of years, of course, I may be mistaken as well. But do correct me if I'm wrong, when Amidamaru got in front of Yoh to block Tokagero from possessing Yoh, in the original, didn't Yoh grab out the portable little tombstone thing and actually trapped Amidamaru inside it so he wouldn't be able to interfere?
Oh yeah, that you mentioning to me is, yes, there was something like that in the original anime.
Yes, and I want to mention that because for some reason that move specifically really left a mark on me. You know, just shut up, Amidamaru, I'm handling this kind of vibe. That was really a hard-hitting moment for me, and I was expecting it to happen throughout the entire scene, and it never happened. And that's the one moment that I have to go back and give props to the original anime adaptation with its added stuff. Yes, I felt like that was a great addition on their part.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now that you're saying this, I feel like this moment when he used this tombstone to trap Amidamaru was really something that should happen here, because it also showed us that even someone like Yoh would use how to say it.
No worries, just start with wood again and I will patch that properly.
But I now forgot what I wanted to say.
Okay, that I cannot fix.
What I wanted to say is that Yoh would use a stronger means, even like, entrapping Amidamaru so that he could save another soul. So it is showing like how each soul, no matter if it is good soul or bad soul, just soul, is something that he feels that deserves redemption, and he can fight for it.
Oh, and I have to say, this happened in previous episodes as well, but basic human value stuff being mentioned in the show, sometimes it comes up way too much as the most basic thing. No, I don't mind it that much because, it's aimed more towards teenagers and kids. I watched this back in late primary school, so those kinds of stuff, it's good to mention to the kids. But when I'm watching, like, all people deserve redemption and a big thumbs up, yes, thank you for the social lesson. They always come across as way too blatant for me, which understandable. Yes, I am over 20 at this point.
Yeah, and I'm also over 20 at this point. Yeah. And a little bit more, so I feel the same. Like while it could work, or I could perceive it better when I was seeing it for the first time, which was in my middle school. So right now it doesn't work as much. It's like a little bit like shallow, or I like to say black. Yeah.
Moving over to the final scene, I just want to mention. Do you have anything else to mention in Yoh's house, by the way? Because I am jumping over to the very final scene.
No, well, there was actually this comedic scene when Yoh was in the bathroom and actually he got interrupted by both Amidamaru.
Oh, that was quite early on. You're way too late to mention that.
sorry. But yeah, apart from that, there was nothing else, I would say.
So the final scene, do you agree that Ren's shot is one of the best fucking screenshots in the entire series so far, with his cape flapping in the back?
Yeah. Despite the fact that I still can't get used to his voice, it's too deep for me, sorry. But yeah, the whole scene, actually it's really interesting because the episode, began with his scene.
Exactly. Yep.
And now it is ending as with him as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. And as you said, his final scene was really strong and kind of hint that we're going to have another, probably some epic fights regarding him. Well,
yep. And that brings us to the next episode title, Oversoul, which isn't quite the special title, is it? Oversoul is just the soul form. It's a pretty rudimentary title.
But I don't know how much we can spoil because, I know what Oversoul is gonna be.
Oh, yeah, of course. But actually, I don't remember what happens next, so I can't spoil anyone as to what's gonna happen. So I prefer you don't as well.
Yeah, so sure, no. From Manga, I think I might know what's gonna happen, but I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, the moment next episode starts airing, the first 10 seconds, I will immediately get back that memory of what's gonna happen. But for now, I actually want to stay the entire week under the bliss of not remembering.
Okay, cool. No problem with me.
But yeah, as I said, this was pretty much the very best episode I have watched from Shaman King Anime so far. The remake.
I would say it was the most balanced episode because previous episode, had a lot of fluctuation. Like there was a lot of stuff.
The first half and the second half. Yep.
But it was also there was also a lot of issues pacing or trying to pack too much content into time. While this episode, thanks to that it solely focused on only one story. Actually, it was, while at the beginning you would thought that it was Ryu's story. For me, it was mainly Tokagero's story.
Oh yeah, yep, definitely. Ryu was just there as the tool to progress the story at this point.
Tool or XP for Tokagero, both literally and figuratively speaking.
Luckily, he won't suffer the same fate as Klein. He will have a bit more screen time than Klein does, so that's a huge plus.
Yeah. He's going to be what Klein should be.
Exactly. Please, more screen time for Klein. Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But again, back to the episode. For me, it was the most entertaining episode so far, and left with the most feeling of satisfaction. So let's hope that it wasn't just a one-time thing, but a hint for something in future that would happen more often.
Hopefully, because this episode, give us more of this. I'll be perfectly happy with the entire anime if you just keep giving us this.
Yes, exactly. I feel exactly the same.
And I guess that's all from this week. Next week it's gonna be Oversoul. As we said, I don't remember what should happen next week, so I don't want to stay blissful like that with not remembering.
Okay, I will also, I have a very good memory, but I will try to not remember too much as well.
I mean, I do have a good memory as well, but watching the show a decade ago, it makes it a bit hard. But yeah, I guess I will see you all next week. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for joining me here, Val.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me again.
And see you all next week. Take care. Stay cool.
Bye.